Yeah. Greetings, salutations, and sports lovers, Dakar fans, and others. We've got to mix the show up a little bit today. Our production did a great job, Gary.
Hola!
Gary, we had issues yesterday. Today it's about focusing, concentrating.
All right.
The production meeting afterwards, yesterday got messy.
Totally messy.
It was
But
horrible,
listen, before
and
we
I
go
don't
any
like
of
being hauled over the coals like that. You'll notice the scenery's changed a bit.
Yeah.
There's gooses at the back here.
Not Ted. It's Ted Bob, yeah? So hi to them, Ted.
How's it,
How's
guys?
it? Okay.
So Ted,
Sparky, your ducks are behind us.
and the goose as well. Ted finished 2016 Dakar in a quad. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff behind the scenes, and in the production meeting earlier I just heard you talking to scriptwriters about some of the issues, and it's absolutely fascinating. But first, yesterday I was getting all excited and anticipating what was going to be an awesome WRC type stage, flat, fast. They changed the setup of the cars during the break, and it was just more than a pit stop. There was a 380 odd K liaison between the two parts of the stage. So another great result for Toyota Gazoo SA Racing, Gary. They're first, second and third on the stage.
Yes.
But
first, second, third. 3 of us today.
that's why it's Chequers. When I've got a text to voice program, and when the message from production came through this morning about it being Chequers, I thought, why are we talking about drafts? What has that game that you go hop that? And then I realized you meant Gary's shirt, Chequers. I like that coordination. Keep the thread going. So Toyota finished first, second and third yesterday. NASA wins his 4th stage, so they won 5 overall. And Alvarez and Rob were second.
Overall.
In the stage
on the
yesterday,
stage, yes, yeah.
And Janelle third. Unfortunately, Bernard ten Brink, he stopped with a mechanical issue in the engine. I think that I saw an interview, but my Dutch translation, my Dutch is really rusty. Anyway, he was just talking about a loud bang when they were flat out. But we don't know the facts because they were still recovering the car by the time we had to close off the input into the program. So we don't know what's happened to the car. They'll recover the car, they'll download the data, they'll see exactly what went wrong.
I actually see some of the information coming through. They were working quite late last night to recover that car.
Yeah. Well, the race cars only finished the stage around about 9 o'clock their time.
Yeah.
And we spoke about reliability. This is the first motor in a Toyota Gazoo SA racing car in 5 years that's broken. And all the Dakars they've done and all the rest, and they send, there's of the Toyotas, I think there were 21, 22 of them have got these motors in them, and they don't break.
Another interesting thing, all right, in this race today at the moment, coming up here, in the top 20, there are all 3 versions.
Top 12, Gary.
Top 12.
Top 12.
All 3 versions of that Toyota Hilux that have ever been built are all 3 in the top 12. So you got the current one, which is a mid-engine one.
Should we talk just a little bit about what the different versions are?
Yeah.
And the car started off as a racing bakkie, a double cab bakkie.
Yeah.
So it's a tubular space frame, and it started off life with a solid axle. It's got a 5-link, twin shocks and coilover suspension, really trick for the time. Then there were a couple of slight versions of it, and it got faster. And you'll notice those are the cars with the 3 spare wheels at the back of the car. With the weight that high and that far back, you get a slight pendulum effect when it's in the corners. It's not so lacquer. So the next generation of making the car go faster, because the rocket scientists in the shed, they build rockets all day long and they get clever and they think of stuff, it was to move the weight down and closer to the center. So the car has a lower center of gravity as well as a lower polar moment of inertia. So in other words, it turns easier and quicker, and it doesn't carry on turning. It stops turning, so you can point it, and it's more agile, and it's faster. So what they did then was they took the spare wheels and moved them from the 3 wheels at the back, moved them to just in front of back wheels.
Okay.
Squash the pilots a little bit closer, and you've now got space for them. And there's also, for the marathon stages, there's a place for a third wheel under the seat.
Okay.
And I think it's on the right-hand seat is where the spare wheel goes, because the left-hand side is exhaust and tubes and...
That's where the hot seat is. Where's your Neil sits? That's the hot seat.
Yeah, and now, so that was Evo 2, so that's an independent rear axle car. And then following on that theme of the polar moment of inertia and center of gravity and fosteriness is to take the engine...
Fosteriness.
Well, it's a tougher bucky. So now it's got fosterer. And if it's fosteriness, Gary, and it's made of unobtainium. Special material.
Yeah, in other words, we can't buy one.
So they take the engine and gearbox and drop it down, which the rules have now allowed a little bit more freedom this year, and move it back. And then in order to do that, you've got to make space for where the driver's feet were. So you lift the feet up and shove engine in underneath it. Okay. It's the packaging on that thing is absolutely, it's phenomenal. So those are the three, and it's again, it's independent suspension. So that's the three versions: solid axle, independent, and mid-mounted.
Just say hi to a couple of guys out there. So, Brad, Jew, Jacqueline Ann Scriber, Albert Roelofs, Egon, our favorite man from the Netherlands. How are you? I hope the storm has gone past and you didn't get too damaged or anything like that. And Peter Slabbert, thanks for hooking us up. And now I want to know a little bit about Ted.
Well, I want to know about Ted as well.
Yeah, I mean,
production came through and they said they were bringing a star.
Yeah.
You've got a star.
Okay. So, you and I can now get up and take a little walk over there, and Ted can talk to the camera for the next 3 hours.
You've got 5 minutes. We're not allowed to, no swearing, no interruptions. It's just got to flow and entertainment level. I mean, the audience is huge, and the guys have come in their droves to... You're a quad biker.
Yeah.
Correct.
You're crazy. Absolutely nuts. 2016 you finished.
Correct.
So you've got a pair.
Okay.
So tell us why a quad and why Dakar?
I think I started riding, we had a rule in the family. I grew up on a farm and we could ride bikes as soon as our feet could touch the ground, and we could pick up the bike if we fell. So I'd never ridden a quad bike until 2011. We went to the Drakensberg for a weekend and they had one of these hire a quad bike things, and I just really enjoyed riding the quad bike, and that's when I started for the first time. I think I started racing in 2012, so 2016 it was Dakar. If you look at from 2012 to 2016, it's actually pretty crazy.
And it's quite, I mean, you're far younger than I am, but you're not 30, so it was quite sort of late in life that you decided to go and do this.
Correct. Actually, my son was riding bikes and he wanted to start racing, and those days it was the GOCs and the bikes would race.
What is a GOC?
Gauteng Off-Road Club had races.
Okay.
And they had the bikes were riding, and then after or before, but never at the same time, the quads and the bikes were riding. So
but that was more like an enduro type thing?
Yeah, it was 200k race.
Okay, cool.
And my son was riding, and so I decided I'm not going to come just spectate and pit for him. While when he comes in and he's finished racing, then he can pit for me. And that's how it started.
You got a built-in pit crew.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, do you come out of a motor racing?
Not
have you been a fan all along?
Yeah, I've always been into motorsports and stuff like that, but never really raced much or at all. So yeah, the quads was the first for me.
So here you are. You go and hire a quad and like it. And then, natural thing from hiring a quad and having a bit of a jaw around the place is, let's go and race Dakar.
Well, what happened was I came back, bought a 150cc sort of automatic quad, and I said, this is it. You don't go bigger than this. You don't need bigger. Then it went to a 200 Blaster, then to a 250 Honda, then to a 400, and I started racing the 400 for 1 year. And I mean, I started in the Masters, so slightly different to most guys. And then from there, went to a 700 Raptor, And a good friend of mine, Nick, always said to me, you know, he remembers the days when I said a 150 is more than enough. So, and then obviously Brian Baragwanath, my teammate, you know, we did a lot of development on the 700 Raptor, and we got a lot more horsepower out of that. And, you know, you always try to get a bit more.
How quick is that thing?
You're looking at about 120 to 130 kilometers an hour.
But it's not so much a top speed, it's how fast you get there.
No, look.
Will it out-drag a 450 bike?
They're pretty much even. The difference is the torque is higher on the 700, and I think the reliability. So for Dakar, you need the reliability because you're not over revving. On the 450, you in the maximum revs all the time.
Okay.
Whereas the 700, you're not winding like you would the 450.
How many cylinders has it got?
One cylinder, single cylinder.
Just another
Yeah.
question. The quads you're riding, are there's like the quads we see here where you got a thumb accelerator?
Well, that's up to you.
Did you have a thumb
Yeah, I had
accelerator?
a thumb accelerator.
Did your thumb get
son-
sore?
Not at all. Not at all. I think
Well, you're
you-
just sitting with it wide open.
You know what it is? It's, you get used to anything. I suppose that's one muscle that is more developed than most.
This is a family show.
Keep it tight. Yeah, that's from...
Yeah.
You know, but also some of the experiences that that you've been to, we were chatting a bit earlier on, and some of the stuff that we're talking about, Joey, an unfortunate little incident happened with Janelle yesterday, which we'll discuss a bit later. How close the cars and the trucks get to you guys, and you had one just about flatten you, didn't you?
Well, not quite. What happened was I came over the top of a dune, and as we came over the top, there was another little lip. And as I came over, there was another quad stuck there, and I went into the back of him. And straight after that, a truck came over the top. Obviously, they'd seen me go over the top of the dune, and they just clipped the left-hand side of my quad. I dived to the right, but that's how close it is. I mean, it could have been, you know, it's either way. And that's why, you know, when you listen to, you know, the things that happen on Dakar with guys, you know, there's been incidents this Dakar as well, and with Joey, there's always incidents. I understand Janelle also went over a bike.
Yeah, there was a, I won't say went over, the facts. We only deal in facts here, 100% factual show, no speculation, it's all confirmed with various independent sources. So we have photographic evidence of the car sort of, and a quad in very close proximity. The quad is sort of half underneath the car, and it was one of those things where there's lots of fish, it's sand. The quad got stuck, the Janelle was coming through and also got stuck, and basically they got stuck next to each other and sort of fell on top. So it wasn't a case of...
You mean you didn't land on it?
No, they kind of just... When the movement had stopped, they were in the same place. But it wasn't violent, there wasn't a whole lot of... There wasn't an incident with a guy threatening all sorts of things.
They can be lucky this didn't happen in Brakpan. Otherwise,
no,
they would
let's
have been
mirror
a
each
good,
other.
yeah.
And Benoni, because you had to come through. You had to leave early today, because I believe you're from like Benoni, that area of the town. It's like
the good side of town now.
And what's it like coming to Four Ways?
Yeah,
What?
it's
Proper, eh?
Yeah.
You know, there's more MMA and fight
here we
clubs
go.
in Four Ways than anywhere else. I suppose Benoni is just one informal fight club.
Yeah, we chilled there. We absolutely.
So, there were highs and there were lows in Dakar for you on a quad.
Yeah.
Mad. You've got to be certifiably off your rocker to try and go 10,000 kilometers on a quad, because you're never driving on a smooth piece of road.
Correct.
Why?
Well, the bikes go in between. If you just look at the last couple of stages where the bikes are going through the camel grass, the cars and trucks are just going straight over it. You know, the quads has always got one wheel on top of it. There's never you know, it's difficult on a quad. The tracks, if you look at all the cars are widened, so the quads can never run in the tracks. They've always got one wheel up on something. So it is difficult. I mean, you know, having dinner one evening, and a mini guy, you know, just said to me, absolute crazy, riding a quad. It's the worst thing you could ever do the Dakar on. And I haven't done it on anything else, so...
So you don't know?
I don't know, but I enjoyed the Dakar.
Great. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. I'd love to. It's expensive. That's the biggest... I'm still paying for the last Dakar. So hopefully as soon as that's paid, I can start planning the next one.
You're talking about that. What does it cost Okay, you guys went in a team, but
Yeah.
as an individual, what is your entry fee to Dakar cost?
It's I can't remember the exact figures, but as a team you're looking at R1.5 million per person.
Serious money, man.
We ran our own crew. We had two guys from Namibia, good friends of Brian Baragwanath. My mechanic was Mike Caffro from the States.
Okay.
And so we had three mechanics, a team manager who was also truck driver. Well, everybody was everything. So there wasn't,
Okay.
you did whatever needed to be done. But
So that's kind of 1.5 million for a budget operation on a quad, and I think Joey was telling us over 1.1, 1.2 for a budget operation on a bike. Somebody told me some figures of in excess of 450,000 euros to get a reasonable drive in a car. So 450,000 euros. That's. I prefer keeping the numbers small because it's it doesn't. But it
Doesn't sound so big.
multiply by
I
one
would
and a
like
half.
that budget, yeah.
It's mega money. So you've got your bike back here,
I have, yes.
and you were telling me you've looking forward to riding it again.
Well, yeah, I've been through after Dakar, I had a couple of surgeries. I was going to race this morning, but I had a hernia op about a month ago, which was also a result of Dakar, of trying to get the bike out of the sand. And I was just going to leave the hernia, but now that I'm sort of got inklings of doing the Dakar, I thought, let's get this sorted out.
So it's true what they say about that little. There's a little bug that gets into you.
I'm not sure about little.
And if you scratch it and you wake it up,
Yeah, no, you can't get it put
kinda
to
screwed.
sleep. Yeah, you
Awesome.
speak to anybody that's done Dakar, they want to go back and do it again. The only problem is Dakar is in euros, and we get rands here, and they're not that hot.
so the biggest high for you?
You know what? Before Dakar, months before Dakar, all I focused on was standing on the podium and just looking at the crowds.
This is the finished podium where you come
yes.
up and
Sort of like,
it's like
sort of
a
like
ramp
the end of today's type of stage.
And what's amazing is,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never been to Dakar. I got up on that, and exactly as I'd visualized it, that's the way it was. And as I came over the podium, you got the one thing about the Argentinians, they're king of selfies. I was doing the selfies after that, just with the crowds, because it's unbelievable the amount of people who follow Dakar over there.
And when you come into into the towns and they line the roads, and we think that we like to believe that this is a country that likes motorsport. We have no idea, when you walk around with a team shirt on, and it's about rip it off your.
Yeah, it's
you.
absolutely
It's
crazy.
awesome. The gees is magnificent there. And I've got to ask a question, though, the hard sort of questions, the low, your darkest moment on Dakar 2016 on a quad, which is.
I think I came close twice to not finishing. The first time was I got stuck in the sand. I actually asked the doctor how hot it was. He said to me it was 52 degrees. We were down in a sort of ravine trying to get out. There were about, 20 to 30 guys that were stuck in the sand there. I was the only one that got out. The guys pressed their buttons, and the last guy was an Argentinian guy that I'd got to know, and he could speak a little bit of English. My Spanish is non-existent, and he pressed his button, and I couldn't believe it. And I said to him, I don't know if he ever understood me. I just said to him, obviously you're not paying for this in rands, because if you were, you wouldn't press.
When you
that
say
button.
pressing the button, is this the help button, so-called
Yes,
help button?
it's
You know, when
the
you
red
press
button. The red button. I'm out of here.
That's
Alright.
abandoned, come and fetch me.
Yeah, and well, I'd seen the whole in the 5.5 hours that I was stuck. I'd seen the chopper just coming in and picking guys out, and as they were doing it, every time they came in, they would drop off water as well. So luckily for that,
How did you get out?
Colin Matthews, the late Colin Matthews, and I'm trying to think what is Burke, Mumbles Burke. They helped me get out. That's how I got out. I was going to wait until it got cool and the sun went down and the sand got a bit harder. I thought, okay, I'll get out then. That morning I got in 2 o'clock in the morning. The last section, the stage that I was actually in had been cancelled because it was too hot. But I'd run a good day and I was lying in 12th place. So I had gone through before they cancelled it and then got stuck. They sent me to the wrong bivouac because that night the bivouacs had split. And Daryl Curtis got there and said to me, I didn't even realize, you're so tired. I did not realize that I was at the wrong bivouac. I drove around for an hour looking for my bivouac, not realizing there's not another bike in quad here. So
what exhaustion does to you, eh?
Yeah, so I still had 200 kilometers. So I got in at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Just go back a little bit. You said, and the theme of heat and soft sand. Just explain the mechanics of why the sand gets softer when it's hot and harder when it's cold. Well,
basically, as your sand dries, obviously your sand molecules or your particles, I don't want to get too scientific here because I'm not, they move easier and the sand gets soft. Where as you get into evening and it's colder and you maybe get a bit of dew onto the sand, it's easier to get a bit of traction. You're not sinking into the sand. And obviously when you're in fish, I mean, it's a disaster.
It's horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Ted, I find this absolutely fascinating. Gary,
yes,
the script has got you needing your input as well at some point.
Oh, would you like me to say something? Hi. All right, just a couple of questions from a couple of people. So
we're a team here, Gary.
Yeah.
Focus.
Okay. First of all, a big hi to a guy called Greg Charman, sitting in Warwickshire in the UK. Hi there. And
just Greg, you know how hot it is here. The sweat is pouring off. It's probably sitting in Four Ways Joburg. It's a glorious day with our ducks and geese there. How's the weather there?
Yeah, and Jacqueline says Benoni's a cool place. Stop knocking, Colin.
I apologise to the whole of Benoni. I know that I also got a message just now that the boys want to come and have a fight club in the car park with me again.
They got to find Four Ways first.
No, it takes so long to get here. We'll head them off at border control.
I'll give them
now, Benoni is a
directions.
fantastic place. Do you know that of all the cities and towns, the prettiest people allegedly come from Benoni? There's Charlene, what's her name? Theron, yeah. And then the other chick who struck it lucky was some guy from Monaco, also quite a belter.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
She's sailing now. So Benoni, accept my apologies. We love you lots. What?
Okay, just one more. The red button.
Yeah.
If you press it by mistake, can you go and speak to organisers to?
I don't know. I didn't try that.
Okay. No, somebody asked that.
No, they say it's over if you press the red button.
I mean, is it
enough? You've got to press it for a while, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't sort of
I don't think you can press it by mistake. I had a case where I was stuck and the doctor came in. I must say about Dakar, when it comes to safety, they are really jacked up. With a chopper, there was a doctor and he came to me and he obviously looked in my eyes and I don't think there was much happening there and said to me, press the red button. And I was actually sitting next to my bike, scooping sand out. And I said to him to F off.
Great.
Then he misunderstood me. And he thought he meant I was too tired to get up. So he said, no, he'll press it for me. And I told him I'll F him up if he does that. So we understood.
Did he understand the second part?
Yeah, well, he got in the chopper and left.
It kind of ties in with what we were saying yesterday about giving up. And, you know, that it seems that South Africans don't understand give up.
No.
It's something, never mind that it costs a bit of money. I mean, cost is all relative. But do you know that this will be the 13th or 14th rally that Janil has finished in a row?
Really?
Who else can say
yes,
that?
he's never fallen out.
No.
In the history of his experience at Dakar.
And in all his finishes, he's only finished once outside the top 10. He's had 7 podiums. It's like a machine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, and people, some of our fickle fans who love to, you know, the
Chequers.
they kind of get to a point where, oh no, he's not from day one, he's not winning. Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to finish on the podium, you approach Mr. de Villiers and employ him. If you can build a car that's reasonably reliable, he'll keep it out of trouble, touch wood, but there's still a bit of mileage to do, make it happen. We don't jinx anything. The guy's absolutely marvelous. So now we're talking about Chequers. I know that was your hint, as in we need to start moving along. So it's the last stage today, and quite an interesting one. There's a liaison out to a stage that was actually used in the WRC, World Rally Championship, Rally of Argentina. It's a relatively narrow road. It's pretty quick. And they go through 30, in the 120 something odd, 119 kilos they're going to be racing.
Yeah.
They go through 31 or 32 river crossings. So
On the stage?
In the stage.
Oh, okay.
So expect only photographs with water splashes tomorrow. So and we go back. And Ted, sorry, Ignacio Casali, did you ride with him?
He
How good
came
is the guy?
off.
He's leading the quads by a long way.
The year I rode, he came off, 2016, he came off, and I think he broke his collarbone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you beat him.
Yeah, I beat him.
And he's going to win this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
So
imagine,
I could have won.
Yeah. The other thing that we have is eternal optimism as a nation. And right, so there are 43 cars, back to the stuff we know just a little bit about. There's 43 cars left in the race. And you mentioned it earlier, Gary, in the top 12 positions, there's 7 Toyotas built in the shed in Joburg.
Correct.
And the interesting thing that I find for today is normally the last stage has been complete reverse order. So the last finisher would be the guy who's sitting in first place. From
the last starter?
The last starter, which would be the last finisher of the stage, technically, if he was...
Is it not overall standings?
Overall, yeah? No, overall. So they
Overall,
go...
But you had the same thing when the 15 were there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you were down at the back, like for argument's sake today, on the bikes,
Jerry would
Jerry had the privilege of starting and going out first and doing what they call it, the opener.
Okay,
Am I correct?
correct.
Yeah.
But in the cars, it's different. Same, but different. So the first 33 cars go off in reverse order. And they've got their gaps and off they go.
Yeah.
And so the car that opens it today is car number 400. That's Philippe Rod and Patrice Saint-Marc. They are 244 hours behind the leader. They've got 141 hours of penalties added to their time. So I think it's absolutely magnificent. So they're in 43rd place. So they opened the road this morning. And then the first 33 cars go. Overall position. So last two...
so-called first.
11th.
In the top 3.
No,
11th.
into 11th.
11th, okay.
And then the top 10 go. But the top 10 go in the order
That they
of
finish
overall.
Yes.
So,
It'll be Saints,
yeah,
Alatia, de Villiers, in that order.
very impressive, Gary. So there's a Peugeot, or the Toyotas have got a Peugeot Sami.
So it's
or
a
the
bit
Sami
of
with-
a pug, toy pug.
And so it's a relatively quick stage. It's going to be quite exciting. We can't wait for it to all unfold. And the message that came from the team is, despite Bernard's issue yesterday with the motor, it's maximum attack. So you've got Peter Hansel is 7 odd minutes, I think, behind Janelle.
Yeah.
And I just want to have a shout out to Rob Howie for navigating to second yesterday. The guy builds the cars.
Actually, you know that car is a 2016 car.
Yes.
Yes.
It's an IRS car.
Yes.
It's not a mid-mount car.
No.
Yeah.
And to be doing that with that type of performance, the guys have done a fantastic job
It's
in Rob Howie and
unbelievable.
Alvarez driving.
Yeah. No, so to Rob, awesome work. And the guys in the workshop can't wait for you to get back so you can start building more cars again. So essentially, we just got to wait, patience, Gary. We probably, at our production meeting later this afternoon, the race will uncover itself for us.
Yeah.
Ted, it's been a fascinating talking to you. Thank you very much for coming and having a chat. We'd like to, when you let us know when you race again. I want to come and see what complete nutters do up close.
Can I just add something? Next year, Brian and I would like to go back, and if everything works out, we're great. But what we're also trying to organise is a South African spectators tour.
Yeah.
To get a whole bunch of South Africans there. I have spoken to Terence Marsh, so we're keen on doing this, and I think it's...
So the South African invasion or takeover of Dakar is...
Real.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Absolutely.
Well, with the amount of cars we got over there, I don't know why we don't have a whole, like the Balmy Army. You. Okay.
Gary, what does that sound? Love it. So,
can you imagine the smoke with the bar fires?
The one thing I thought that South America didn't do so well, and maybe we just went to the wrong places, is that they didn't braai so lekker. Their meat was pretty cool, but we still king of the braais. So, Gary, in the theme of Chequers, that means, and there's no moment, like with Dan Gurney and the champagne, 1967 at Lamar, starting to spray the champagne. There's no moment that I can really, in the extensive research that our research department carried out this morning, they brought me a couple of things and said, well, you know, what do you think? And the earliest we can get to is about 1906.
Yeah.
There's a story where a checkered flag was raised. There's another story.
Are you talking about the history of the checkered flag? Sorry.
Where did the checkered flag come from? So we know that it's used to signal the end of a race.
Event.
And it's become, because motorsport is probably the most important endeavor in the history of man, it's become to signal many things. You know, when you reach at the end of an event, just as a normal human pottering around and not living the life of excitement that petrol in your veins gives you, it's the end of an event. Then there's another quite an interesting one where it goes back to some rally, that a stage that went from some place to another place, and they needed to check where the cars went. I think it's a BS story completely, but research said it was reliable. So they used a cloth with checks on it, and squares, so that they could see where the car went. I think it's complete BS. And then there's another one about a tablecloth that the boys went out racing, and this is like in 1902. So they didn't have too many. You know, the cars weren't that quick, and anyway, the boys were racing and the girls were cooking. Apparently that's how it started. That's where the legend is, Benoni. The boys race, the girls cook. So, and while the girls were cooking, in order to signal to the boys racing in the backyard, they took their tablecloth that just happened to be what? Checkered, and waved it at the boys.
I think that's the answer.
Okay, we're going to go with this. Verifiable. There's our second independent source. So the history of the checkered flag comes from the chicks cooking, the ladies cooking, and the boys revving their cars in the backyard. And when the ladies of the food's ready, they wave the flag and signal the end of the race, and there we go.
Just before we knock off, do you know Chad Fouchier, sorry?
Yes.
Okay, there's a little message from here. All the best to Ted and team. Love from Cape Town. And Brad Drew is your first customer at Dakar 19 for the spectator tour.
Oh, cool.
He's in.
But as part of the show,
Yeah.
our legal department will be contacting you for their share of the great marketing that we do. And watch out for legal, they're bastards. Ted, thank you very much for joining us. It's been
awesome.
The live audience
Thank you.
really appreciates it.
Yeah.
The guys have been, you know, we've got to keep them in line. It's been a great Dakar. It's not over yet. The last quiver of enjoyment and satisfaction is yet to leave us. This will happen sometime between today and tomorrow night, we hope. And Gary, we'll be back tomorrow, I believe,
Are we?
for a production set, for a wrap-up, a wrap-up, and a bit of a...
Well, it's not quite the end tomorrow. Okay, there's a couple of things happening in the week, and if they do come to fruition, stay tuned to the Facebook page. We'll let you know about it. I believe it's quite exciting.
It's the biggest news since man set foot on the moon.
Okay.
A rocket scientist.
Yes.
A true, proper... A guy who teaches rocket scientists to be rocket scientists is hopefully our guest. We have word from their production department to our production department that this is going to be a show of note.
It will be.
But Dakar wraps up tomorrow.
Yeah, and for those of you who are very keen to go and welcome the South African guys back, the first team start arriving back Monday morning, 7 o'clock at our Tambo. So if you guys would like to go out there and welcome some of the guys back, they're coming in different times and that sort of thing. Go and show them your support, and I think they'll enjoy it. They've been working pretty hard out there for the last 14 days.
Yep, that's awesome. Walking through those doors, you know what it's like, and you smell the Joburg air. It's different, and it's just, this is home. And on that note,
from me, adios, and thanks everybody for watching. It's been an absolute joy.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys. And the gooses are still here, and they're doing goose stuff. They just a little bit scared about the big production team that we have here. Cheers.
Cheers.